What's up, Wolverine fans? Welcome back to the Maize and Bluebeard podcast, where we talk all things Michigan football and basketball. MWB and the place to be, go blue. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you taking the time out of your Saturday to hang out with me. We got a lot to get to. I made a oopsie that I need to apologize for. We got some NFL playoffs coming up, NFC and AFC championship games, with a lot of Wolverines involved, plus some Wolverine coaches making some moves. We got some NCAA news to go over. We'll follow up with a little more information on the Tatum switch to defense. And of course, we'll talk about some recruiting, specifically at linebacker, that we can get excited about. And if you wait till the end of the video, of course, I'll reveal the results to yesterday's question of the day. All this and more on this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Let's get into it. First things first, I need to apologize. I own up to my mistakes. I'm just a regular guy who loves Michigan football and Michigan basketball, who's having a blast making videos and content and getting to talk to a bunch of awesome Michigan fans. So when I drop the ball, I want to make sure that I point it out and apologize. So yesterday, I usually do a video, and then later in the day I do a short. So I was trying to decide what I want to do for my short, and I had an idea. I was looking up some stuff for it. I was getting ready to go out to dinner with the fam, and all of a sudden on my phone pops up an article about Miami wide receiver Malachi Toney entering the transfer portal. And I thought, what? That's wild. No way. So I read through it. Seems legit. And then I go to search up more about it, and something else pops up that talks about possible transfer destinations and stuff. So I'm like, this must be legit. I gotta get going to dinner. I'm just gonna make this be my short. Michigan fans will love to see this. So I put it out, and all of a sudden, a little bit later, I noticed it was kind of taken off. And I was like, man, let me just look up more info about this. Maybe I want to do a follow-up, or, in case people comment or ask questions. And I couldn't find anything. And I dug a little deeper, and then I realized that it was a fake account that had put that out, and it had caused a stir, and it had gotten proven false and shot down. And then some of the extra article I saw that was possible destinations, there was a bunch of those. Some were related to the fake account. Some were people saying, oh, if he did leave, maybe this is where he'd go. And I had gone down a rabbit hole and made a mistake. So anyone who saw that and thought that was true and ran with it or told somebody about it, I apologize. As soon as I saw that I had made a mistake, I deleted the short, got rid of it, and I put out a post on my YouTube apologizing and saying what happened. So, lesson learned. Michigan player stuff. I follow so many 247 Sports, On3, the Wolverine, a bunch of people on YouTube, so many different things, and I love to just dig in and find out so many things. But it's all legit sources that I trust, and that I know. And plus, I look before I talk about something that's not just me giving my opinion. If I see it on all of those, then it's like, oh yeah, this is legit. So I need to learn. I don't usually make content that's not really related to Michigan. That one, I just thought it was interesting because some of the teams they mentioned as possible places were teams in the Big Ten. But if I see something that's not a Michigan player and it just shows up on Google, I really need to dig in before I put any content out about it. And that's what I'm learning. This channel is growing, community is growing, and I have a responsibility. I can't just throw stuff out there. So I apologize again. That will not happen again. I'm definitely going to learn from it. Just wanted to say sorry for that. Now let's get back to the video. So first of all, let's talk about some interesting and a crazy thing that happened. Usually ESPN is pretty down on Michigan, but some really nice stuff came out about Michigan from ESPN. Two different things. First, they put out their top 100 players that were in the transfer portal, and Michigan had 3 players in there. J.J. Buchanan, wide receiver, J.J. Buchanan, defensive end or edge, John Henry Daly, and cornerback Smith Snowden. So that was cool to see all of those players in there that are now Michigan Wolverines and have them talk about how great how big of an impact they're going to have on Michigan's team. And Justice Haynes was also in there. So it's good to see that they recognized when he was at Michigan how well he played and how good he looked before he got injured. So that was awesome. And then they ranked teams on how well they did in the transfer portal, and they had Michigan and Kyle Whittingham at number 9. And they talked about how great they did at filling in holes and getting talent and, reshaping the quarterback room, adding depth behind Bryce Underwood, making the wide receiver room a strength, making the secondary much better, and the special teams units, and the defensive line. I mean, Jonah Leah and John Henry Daly are going to be a huge addition to that defensive line. So it was just good to see. Like I said, Kyle Whittingham and his staff are just a breath of fresh air. They are just slowly chipping away, turning this team around, and also turning around Michigan's image with the media and in the public. And they haven't even played a game yet, coached a game yet, but they're just the steadying force that's just getting us all excited. And there's just nothing negative that anyone can say about the staff right now, which is fantastic. So awesome stuff. Being on the good side of ESPN. A couple days ago, I talked about the big news that running back Taylor Tatum, our transfer portal running back we got from Oklahoma, that many thought would just slot in behind Jordan Marshall and Savion Hyder as the number 3 running back and get in the rotation. But he is going to be switching to play safety. Now, I do think it'll be a safety linebacker hybrid, because a lot of people say his size and speed, everything, it could be great for linebacker, and I agree. And since it's saying safety, I do think that Jay Hill has used that kind of linebacker safety hybrid. We talked about some examples that Michigan's had in the past and BYU. But there's another part to it too that I want to talk about, is that an example of how he might still get some reps at running back. Of course, first, the running back room, people think, oh no, now we're not deep there. But I mean, you've got those two. The 1A, 1B was always going to be the top 2 running backs, even with Tatum in there. You got Bryson Kuzdal that came back, which is fantastic. And then you have Micah, a great depth piece there. And then Donovan Johnson, who before he was injured last year was really thought to be a up there and have a chance to crack into that rotation then. So they've still got a stacked running back room. So feeling pretty good about the running back room. So don't worry about that. But what I wanted to say is that Taylor Tatum might still get some run there, because a player that many Detroit Lions fans know, Sione Vaki, who is on the Lions, does special teams, safety, running back. He did that at Utah too. He played safety and was really good, but he also was a running back and was really good. And he did both. So Kyle Whittingham is really open to having players switch sides and positions, but play them both sometimes in the same game and definitely throughout the season. So I'm kind of excited to see him in a safety, maybe linebacker hybrid role, but also maybe see some snaps at running back too. That would be pretty exciting. So we shall see what happens. But I was just thinking of that the other day, reading more about it, and thought, Vaki, that's right. He did do that at Utah. So pretty cool. A couple of pieces of NCAA news. Of course, the big one was that the NCAA announced that the college football playoff format for next year will remain at 12 games. There was a lot of talk about it pushing and expanding to 24, but it's going to remain at 12 for next year, and it's going to give them time to continue to discuss options, figure out the best way forward. There will not be an expansion on the playoff next year. It will still be 12 teams. So we'll see how that goes. Let me know in the comments what you think about that and how you would want the playoffs to go. Because it would be nice. I do wish they could come with a better seeding system, but it's tough. I don't know. So let me know what you think in the comments. The other piece of information was that they approved the use of patches, and not just in college football, but in all NCAA sports, on the uniforms for more ad revenue and advertisement money to come in to help pay the players. So that'll be interesting to see that in all the sports going forward. We'll see how quickly that becomes a thing, and if it's just some players, all players, some sports, all sports. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. The NBA, MLB, and NHL have all already done this in the past few years. The NFL is the only one professionally that has not yet. So now it's coming to college sports. So get ready for that. Speaking of the NFL, some Michigan coaches and players are making some noise in the NFL. Jesse Minter, former defensive coordinator, accepted the job with the Baltimore Ravens. Very interesting, with all the history between John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh talking as brothers, and getting Mike Macdonald to come there. They all that history there. It's just interesting that he ended up being coach there. I think that's pretty cool. And then Jim Harbaugh, of course, made a hire this past week. Mike McDaniel, former Miami Dolphins coach, he hired as his offensive coordinator for the Chargers, which was a bummer for a lot of Lions fans because we wanted him there. But the Lions got Drew Petzing, which he has grown on me, and I actually am excited about what he could do. If you like Detroit sports, I'm just kicking off a Detroit channel, Motor City Bluebeard podcast. Just starting out with that. Barely have anything subs or anything, so check that out if you want. But there's a couple of important games going on this weekend in the NFC Championship and AFC Championship, and there's some Michigan Wolverines represented there. The Seahawks have their head coach, of course, our former defensive coordinator, Mike Macdonald. Also, special teams coach is Jay Harbaugh, and linebackers coach is Chris Partridge, are all former Wolverine coaches. The Seahawks have tight end A.J. Barner, running back Zach Charbonnet, defensive end Mike Morris, and offensive lineman Alu Oluwatimi. Patriots, of course, have Michael Awanyu. The Rams have running back Blake Corum, edge Josiah Stewart, and cornerback Josh Wallace. Good luck to all those former Michigan Wolverines on the coaching side and on the playing side. I think that it's going to be in the Super Bowl. Seahawks and Patriots will get a repeat of that classic game where the Seahawks probably should have given the ball to Marshawn Lynch, but they didn't, and the Patriots ended up winning. You know what happened if you watched that game. Let me know your predictions for who's going to win the games this weekend down below in the comments. Now into recruiting, I did want to talk about a specific position group that we have been worried about this cycle and going into next season. That's at linebacker. It does seem that we didn't have a lot of depth, young depth at that position. We've got some next year that I think are going to be special. But this coaching staff and Alex Whittingham, linebackers coach, Kyle Whittingham's son, are really looking at adding a lot of talent and depth to the room going forward. And there's a couple standouts that I want to talk about. First, they're making a lot of ground with Blake Benton, a 3-star linebacker who's on the rise, who they met with, and he was very impressed. Also, they're targeting, and this one's just fun, but they're targeting Sam Ncaa, who is the son of a former great player, of a former great football player, Haloti Ngata. If you know, one of my favorite names in football and one of my favorite players back in the day. So that's pretty cool. 4-star Braden Feister. He looks really great. He has some interest. Michigan is gaining some ground with him, but of course he's got some other offers, so we'll see. But he looks like he could be a great addition. And finally, 5-star, number 7 linebacker in the class, Makai Allen, just looks like an absolute beast. He would be a superstar, I think. Michigan, he's really just taking it slow. He says everybody's in the same place with him, but he really likes Michigan. He's excited to visit, talk with the coaches, talk with Kyle Whittingham, Alex Whittingham, Jay Hill, get a feel for the coaching staff, and for their defense and what their plans are. So that's one to watch. They all are, but that would be one where it was like, oh man, I think this guy, like watching some of his highlights and stuff, I think that wherever he goes, hopefully to Michigan, but wherever he goes, I think he could be a year 1 starter, even as a freshman, because he's got that much talent. So that's one to keep an eye on. So they are working on getting some linebackers in here so that we've always got loads of talent seeping out of that linebacker room, which I've said it before. It's a dead horse by now, but I also think they're seeping with talent and potential in this current linebacker room. So we'll see what happens. And I must say, congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines basketball team as they defeated the Ohio State Buckeyes 74-62, improving to 19-1 and 9-1 in the Big Ten. Another double-digit win. That is 4 in a row. They're playing great basketball right now. They're kind of regaining their footing. They're not beating people by 50, but Big Ten play is tough, and they are winning by double digits against solid competition. So I am feeling good. Go Blue. Big win for Michigan. And now next week they got undefeated Nebraska and Michigan State. So here we go. Let's see what these boys are made of. And finally, we're going to talk about the question of the day results from yesterday. I do a question of the day every day, and then in the next day's video, I talk about the results. Make sure, if you haven't already, after this video, you go and vote in today's question of the day so we can talk about it tomorrow. Yesterday, I asked, which of these playmakers was the most important signing for Michigan to bring in? And your options were Jamie French, J.J. Buchanan, Celeste Moa, or Smith Snowden. The winner is J.J. Buchanan by a mile. And I would say I agreed. If you look at it, I used the word most important. So I would say it would have to be either French or Buchanan, because if one of them can just go off and be a beast, that's going to open up so much for Andrew Marsh on the other side. So that's exciting. I think either one of them could be seen as the most important, whoever steps up. But I do really like what we have in J.J. Buchanan, because we have not had that receiver that's just big and catches contested catches all the time that you can just throw it up to for a long time. And I think he's going to be something special. But I also think French will as well. He's going to be really fun to watch. And so are Smith Snowden and Celeste Moa. So fun playmakers. It's going to be a fun year next year. Make sure again that you vote on today's question of the day. All right, and that's going to do it for this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Thank you again for hanging out with me on a Saturday, taking time out of your day, out of your weekend to spend time with me and talk Michigan sports. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody stays safe this weekend, whether you're in Michigan, where there's all the crazy wind chills and winter weather, or you're down south like me. Again, I moved just this year down to North Carolina, and we've got some crazy weather coming here too, and everyone does in the South. So no matter where you are, Wolverine fans, stay safe, have a fantastic weekend, and have a great rest of your Saturday. I appreciate you all. Again, brand new channel, lifelong Michigan fan. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. Helps the channel grow, helps this community that I love grow. And also, please leave a comment down below. I answer everyone, and I love to talk sports with Michigan fans down there. You guys are awesome. So have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, until I do, go Blue.